All right. So I hope you guys are seeing that the more you practice this, the more you're going to get the hang of this. There's a huge advantage that you have trying to learn this versus almost any other technology, which is that with most technologies, you essentially have to learn a new language to understand how it works. ChatGPT is trained to understand the language you already speak, right? So you just have to pretend you're talking to a person and formulate what it is you're looking to ask. Put useful into the chat if you feel like even just going through these exercises and seeing what other people are posting, you're starting to get a better sense of what this is and how this works. Awesome. Fantastic. Okay. So we've covered 2 steps so far, right? First, you consume information, then you find an opportunity to apply it. And that's great, but you're not going to get it right the first time. And so we need to go from application to improvement. And we get there through useful feedback. Now, the idea of integrating feedback into the learning journey is not new. A major proponent of this idea was Benjamin Bloom, one of the most influential educational theorists of the last 100 years. And one of the concepts that he gave us is the idea of mastery learning. So I want to explain what it is. And the best illustration that I came across of what mastery learning is comes from Sal Khan, the founder of Khan Academy. And he gives the analogy of building a house and having a building inspector. So let's say you build the first floor of your house, right? You start with the foundations. And the building inspector comes in, does an inspection, you get the report. Okay, you get the report, then you move on. You got the first floor, you do an inspection. They do the electrical system, you do the inspection, etc. Now, let's say that you built the foundation, you get the inspection report, and you got 70% of the work right on the foundations. What do? Do you just continue, or do you fix it before moving forward? Type fix it into the chat if you think that you should fix it before you go into building a first floor on top of the foundations. Right? Exactly. Okay, you fix it. That's all mastery learning is. Mastery learning essentially is the idea that you don't go on to lesson 2 until you've understood lesson 1. That's what it is. It's a very fancy way of saying that. And Bloom's research shows us that mastery learning, especially when you pair it with individualized support, creates tremendous results for students. In 1984, so we're going back almost 40 years, he conducted a seminal experiment. Here's what he did. He had 3 groups of students. They're all going through the same curriculum, but the first group of students is just going through the regular classroom curriculum. The second group is going through it on a mastery learning approach, meaning you don't move on to the next piece until the students understood the previous piece. And then the third group is also following a mastery learning approach, and they get individual tutoring when they need help. So what were the results? Well, the first variation, so the second group performed 1 standard deviation above the control, and the second variation, the third group, performed 2 standard deviations above the control. So for anyone who it's been a while since you've taken a stats class, what that essentially means is that the average student in the third group performed at the 98th percentile of the regular class, right? So we have known since the 80s what it takes to help every child perform at the 98th percentile. Now, the problem is not how do we do it. The problem is how do we resource it, right? There aren't enough teachers, there isn't enough money, there isn't enough time. How do we do it? And because in statistics, standard deviation is denoted by the Greek letter sigma, this came to be known as the 2 sigma problem. How do we resource providing all of the children out there with the support they need to perform excellently? And it's in a nod to this that we named our newsletter, the 2 Sigma newsletter, and a nod to how do we create transformation at scale. But the 2 Sigma problem is fundamentally, if we boil it down, about how do we give every student the feedback that they need. And there's good news and there's bad news.
Okay, good girl.
The good news is that there is always going to be feedback, right? No matter what you do. It just might not be as helpful as it otherwise could be. I like to joke that if I decide to just learn how to skateboard, I could just pick it up and start learning myself and I'll get feedback. It's just going to be from the concrete and gravity, and it won't be very nuanced or pleasant. But remember that what people want to pay you for is a shortcut to achieving whatever outcomes they care about. Specifically, they want to get to where they're going in less time, at less cost, and with less risk. than it would take them on their own. So if you, in this hypothetical scenario, help me to learn to skateboard faster and with less painful falls, that's something, if I cared about learning to skateboard, that I would be willing to pay a premium for. And that's where hybrid courses really shine, in the integration of feedback structures, whether it's peer feedback, having a teacher's assistant, or more involved coaching structures. But the challenge is that providing good personalized feedback can take a lot of time and energy. And that's why it's important to be really thoughtful and strategic about where and how you do it. Now, as you can see, there are a lot of decisions to be made about the design of your course. What exactly will you teach and how will you teach it? What assignments will you include? How will you hold your students accountable? What sort of support will you provide? It is a lot to keep track of. And that's why I designed a tool that I call the Hybrid Design Canvas. Now, I've never shared this publicly before, and I will share it with you now, with the understanding that it's just going to be a quick review, because we could spend hours just unpacking this, and we just don't have that kind of time. So put cool into the chat if you're okay with this. You're like, okay, show it to me, but I understand, we're going to spend a few minutes, not a few hours on this. Okay, cool, awesome. So you start with these two axes, and across the bottom, we're going to label the 6 dimensions, the 6 different ways of components of building your course. So we've got the teaching, we've got the support, we've got accountability, we've got coaching, we've got community, and we've got implementation. And then there are a few different ways that you could deliver on these things. It can be broadcast, meaning one-to-many, you're just kind of putting a message out to everyone. It can be individualized and triggered, but technology-based, so it's not a human being getting in there. It can be done with a human being in groups, or it can be personal, actual one-to-one. So then you kind of get to go through these and say, well, for each of these dimensions, what am I going to do? What am I going to choose? What makes sense? So if you are teaching, right, broadcast might mean that you're putting out pre-recorded lessons. Groups might mean that there are workshopping labs. If you're providing support, and support is different from helping people with the learning. Support is, I can't figure out how to log in. Where's my password? When is the assignment due? It's that kind of stuff, right? Doing that in groups might mean tech support or tech setup calls or office hours. Personal might be a one-on-one help desk. Accountability could be done on a broadcast basis. We put out reminders, we have contests, whereas technology would be you unlock bonuses in the course by doing things at a certain time. You can have accountability groups, you can have one-on-one follow-up. Right? For coaching, you can have it done by technology, by supporting a peer-based structure. It can be done in coaching groups or individually. Personal, obviously, would be one-on-one coaching. Community would be about how the moderation is done. And then implementation, broadcast could be, I'm just giving you the instructions, best of luck to you. Groups could be, we're going to have do-it days where everybody shows up. Personal could be, I'm providing services to help you do things on your own. And so you think for your course, what do I want to do? So maybe I decide that for this course I'm creating, I'm going to deliver the teaching, partially broadcasting information and partially in workshop groups. Then for support, I'm going to deliver the support in group support experiences where people can come in and do labs to get set up. And there's personal, we're going to answer their questions. And the accountability is going to be all one-on-one with triggers of how people are doing, and we'll reach out when they're behind and not on track. Coaching will be in groups and one-on-one. Community will all be kind of managed by technology with a little bit of group administration. And implementation is going to be on a group basis. I'm going to put people in groups, let them show up and support each other to work together. And what you can do is plot out kind of the ranges. And what you've got here is essentially a graph of the DNA of the course that you are looking to create. Now, there are ranges that good answers for hybrid courses that are both transformative and profitable will typically fall into. So these are the common ranges. But whatever decisions you make, you can see here where you're over-indexing and under-indexing. That's kind of the point, based on what you think people will need. Now, I can see that the chat is, I can just see people's faces. I can see the chat is about to explode with questions. And that is normal. This is the sort of thing that we spend a huge amount of time learning how to do inside of our programs, to find the configuration where you give your students the most results and the most powerful transformation in a way that is really leveraged and profitable for you. But for right now, I'm going to give you a simple exercise. Looking at these 6 different categories, there's teaching, there's support, there's accountability, there's coaching, there's community, and there's implementation. Looking at those 6 dimensions, I want you to just choose the one that you think will be your biggest opportunity to set your course apart from the competition and create a real transformation for your students. So think about that. We've got these 6 dimensions: teaching, support, accountability, coaching, community, and implementation. Put into the chat which is your big opportunity to stand out and why. Why is that the case? And how might you structure it? So 3 minutes, just explore, think about that. All right, awesome. I love what I'm seeing. And I want to be clear. Some people are saying, I think they're all important. You're right. They are all important in that they all have to be there. But some of them are just how they're like hygiene factors, right? A hygiene factor refers to the idea that showering will make you happy, but not showering will make you miserable. So yes, they all need to be there, but they're not all going to put you over the top and help you stand out. That's how you kind of figure out where do you want to over-index and where do you not need to. So we've covered the 3 steps in the learning journey. First, they have to consume the information, listen to the audio, read the text, watch the video. Then they need to apply that information, and then they need to be able to get feedback that will help them improve. And we also talked about some of the ways that you can leverage prompt engineering, high quality prompt engineering, to get ChatGPT to save you a bunch of time. But obviously, we're just beginning to scratch the surface. And it's important not to get so lost in the shiny object of the new technology that it distracts us from what we're actually looking to achieve. We talked about how people fundamentally want your course for the shortcut that it provides to get them to where they want to go in less time, at less cost, and with less risk of failure. And the same is true for everyone here. You don't care most likely to be masters of AI just for the sake of it, but you do care about leveraging whatever tools you need in order to create the outcomes that actually matter. And for the people that I work with, those outcomes are about leverage first and foremost, so you can spend less of your time earning more money by producing courses that are worth enough to justify a premium. And you want that leverage because leverage leads to freedom. The more people you help and the more money you make, the more freedom it creates, especially if you're smart about the way you do it. Freedom from having to worry and having to take on projects and jobs that you don't want, and from the general risk and uncertainty of life, and freedom to choose where you want to focus your time and energy to be there for your family and your loved ones, the freedom to say no to things that don't light you up. And when you have leverage and freedom, you're able to create a lot of impact. The people that tend to gravitate to my work are in it for more than just themselves. They take care of other people in their immediate circles and more broadly. Put the words impact into the chat if that is the way you feel, right? It's like, yeah, I'm not doing this just for me. I'm doing this for my family, for my loved ones, for my community, for all the things that I see in the world that I know could be better. The AI tools that we've learned about and the hybrid courses that they can help us build, they're all just in service of these goals. If these goals are important enough to us, we keep pushing through, even when it's hard, even when it means dealing with uncomfortable technologies that we don't understand. And if they aren't that important, then when things get uncomfortable, we step back inside our comfort zones. And that's not where the magic happens, but for some people, that's okay. Which brings us to the idea of off-ramps. I promised that I'd have some more for you, and this is the next one. At this point, you're either really excited about what hybrid courses powered by AI development tools can do for your students and for your business, or you aren't. And if you're not, that's totally fine. It's wonderful that just a few hours into this boot camp, you know that and you have that clarity. And I would suggest you can sign off. You don't need to come back on Friday. But if you do, if you're like, no, I really am excited about what hybrid courses powered by AI development tools can do for my students and for my business, then there are three things that I will invite you to do right now. First, make sure that your calendar is marked for our our Friday session at 11 a.m. Pacific, which is 2 p.m. Eastern. It is the playbook for marketing and selling courses in the age of AI. And there is no recording. I know a few people have been asking. We are not releasing recordings for these because this space is just changing so quickly. I don't want screen recordings. I don't want recordings of this floating around. We will come back and deliver presentations on this again in the future at some point, and we probably will release recordings for a limited time. We're just not doing it now. So you've got to be there live. And we will do a live encore rebroadcast of the recording the next day that you have to show up live for as well, if you prefer that. So you don't want to miss it. You've got to mark your calendar. And there's a lot that we're going to cover. We're going to talk about what are realistic financial goals with courses in 2023. That might surprise you. We're going to talk about what market research must look like in the age of AI. There are big changes here. We're going to talk about why AI makes selling courses harder. And I'll share with you my strategy for beating the odds. And I will give you my top 4 go-to course selling strategies and how to execute them quickly with AI. And a whole lot more. That's just a quick sample to get you excited. So that's the first thing, mark your calendars. The second thing I will invite you to do is get the slides of today's session. You do that by submitting homework. And the question that I want you to write in your answer to is this: what prompt might you give ChatGPT to help you design or develop your course? Think of one good prompt and share it with us. And you can send that to support@Mirasee.com. Some of you got confused yesterday with the ini.danny@Mirasee address and typed it in wrong, and it went to the wrong place. So we're going with support@Mirasee.com today. Send it with the subject line AI Courses Day 2 Homework, and my team will reply with the slides of today. So that's the second thing to do. The third thing I will invite you to do is just for the people who know that they absolutely must seize this opportunity. It's not a nice to have, it's a need to do for their 2023 plan. And that is to apply for a spot in our Hybrid Course Accelerator AI Edition. This is the cutting-edge version of our most effective course building program, upgraded with AI prompts that we're developing to make everything easier. The accelerator covers 3 full-length courses. Hybrid Course Launch, about going from zero to a launched and revenue-generating course. Hybrid Course Audience, about growing the audience and following that will want to come and buy from you over and over again. And Hybrid Course Scale, about how to ramp up everything that you're doing. The entire training is designed to support you in building and profitably launching the hybrid course that can be the sustainable engine that creates leverage and freedom and impact in your business and life. And it isn't just about the training. The accelerator also comes with an incredible level of support. There are 7 months of bi-weekly, meaning every other week, support from your one-on-one course building and marketing coach. There is concierge tech setup and copywriting services through our Mist Digital Agency. And of course, there is the prompt library that you can use to leverage everything we're teaching with AI. And you've seen today a bit more about what AI prompts are all about and what they can do. But I want to give you a bit more of a sense of the breadth of the library that we're building. We will have prompts to help you with every area of building your hybrid course business. Niche selection, market research, outreach messaging, program outlining, lesson planning, drafting content, planning homework, templating support, sales copy planning, and a ton more. Thanks to the integration of AI, it has literally never been easier to follow the steps that we teach and finally build the hybrid course business that will create the leverage, freedom, and impact that you want. Now, if you look at all the components of this program, just add them all up. It's about a $14,000 price tag. And that's not even mentioning the cutting edge AI prompts upgrade that I didn't put on there because I don't know what price I would put on it, but it's not zero, I'll tell you that. But because of how time sensitive this opportunity is, we are reducing the price right now. So if you want to join the program, you would only make 12 payments of $595, and you can save even more if you choose by paying in full. And there really isn't any risk here because we guarantee results in this program. If you put in the time, you do the work, you reach out to us so we can help you along the way, we guarantee that at the very least, you'll earn back your full investment in the program. And if you don't, I will pay you the difference out of my own pocket. So really, you can't lose. Now, we don't accept just anyone into this program because I will pay you the difference out of my pocket. And so if I accept a lot of people who are not a good fit, we're going to spend a lot of time and energy and effort and then refund all the money anyway. So that doesn't work. I only want people who are serious and who we are confident we can help. And that is why you cannot buy a spot in this program. All you can do is apply for one. And the way to do that is with a $500 fully refundable deposit. Then you'll get on a call, you'll talk to someone on my team, and if you and they both agree that you're a good fit for the program, your spot will be secured. And if not, we'll refund the deposit. No harm, no foul. And space is limited. We will accept people into the program on a first come, first served basis. So if you think you might want to jump in on this very timely opportunity, you can review the details and put down your deposit at mrsc.co/HCA. And my team can, well, they beat me to it. They already put it into the chat. So there you go. Now we're almost done. And I've saved some time for Q&A, but first let's recap your next action steps. Action step number 1, go to mrsc.co/HCA and put down your deposit. Action step number 2, make sure your calendar is marked for our Friday session at 11 a.m. Pacific, which is 2 p.m. Eastern. Again, remember, there is no recording. You've got to be there. And third, get the slides. Submit your homework, send an email to support@mirc.com with the subject line AI Courses Day 2 Homework. And you share with us what prompt might you give ChatGPT to help you design or develop your course. Think about what is a good, helpful prompt that you might use. And with that, let's go to Q&A. If you have questions, then I would love to answer them. So put them into the chat, and I'll do my best. We've got a bunch of time. Molly, what do people want to know?
Sure thing, Danny. I have a few questions here already. Susan wanted to know, when does the program start and how much time is required?
So the program starts in, I guess, a couple weeks. You'll have a little bit of time to get organized. And if you need like another week or something, like you'll be fine. Don't worry about that. Different people spend a different amount of time, but I would say plan to be able to put in at least 10 hours a week. So it's definitely something you can do part-time on the side while you have a job, while you work on your business. That's how most people build things. It's on the margins. People tell me all the time, Danny, well, it's easy for you. This is your job. And I'm like, when I'm writing a book, that's not what I do all day. That's what I'm doing in addition to, to my job as CEO of Mirasee. So you can definitely do this on the side, but you do want to dedicate at least 10 hours to be able to put in your energy and effort to get a result that you want.
Kara, wanted to know more about the actual program. Like you've talked about the AI aspect of it. Sorry for the door slam. But can you talk a little more about what hybrid course university launch is and how and what happens during it? Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, there are 3 courses that you go through as part of this accelerator. There's actually a 4th kind of prerequisites course at the beginning as well. But you go through these courses in order. The first course is called Hybrid Course Launch. It's where you do everything you need to do to find the idea for your course, to research it, to seed the market with desire, to get the word out, to get people enrolling, to generate revenue, to deliver it, to know you're like, okay, I know what I'm doing. The second course is about building your audience. So who are the people who are going to follow your work, be interested in what you're doing, hang on your every word, and then be excited to buy from you? And then the third course is Hybrid Course Scale, which is where you take everything that you've learned. You're like, all right, let's do more. Let's reach more people. Let's be able to deliver this to more people. Let's scale everything up. So it's really a complete start to finish. Everything you need to build your online course business is built into this program.
Thank you very much, Danny. And will there be AI aspects and integration through all 3 programs, or is it mainly just focused on launch?
Through all 3, we're building prompt libraries to go with every single one of the courses.
Awesome. Thank you. Carol has a question about AI. If AI can't think, reason, understand, how does it make sense of the detailed prompts? Danny is suggesting that, which the detailed prompts that Danny's suggesting, there seems to be a lot of integrated thinking.
Yeah, so there's no thinking at all. It is just statistical prediction. Right. It is trained on, I forget the number. It's like 250 billion pieces of information or something. And the new one is going to be like trillions. It's just trained on an enormous amount of information, and it's looking for statistical patterns. So it knows what the statistical patterns are of how words are put together. So it knows how natural language sounds. And it knows, based on the data out there, what is the most statistically likely answer to the question that you're posing, right? The whole engine is essentially a very elaborate version of figuring out what is the most statistically likely next word and next word and next word.
Thank you for that explanation, Danny. Somebody wants to know, is there a maximum amount of students that you're accepting into HCA?
We're going to cap it at 35 for this round. So not a huge number. I mean, I don't know how many people are on now. There were 500 or 600 people on a little while ago. So we're probably going to fill up. We will, of course, open more spots at some point later in the year. But, this whole AI thing, it's kind of taken everyone a little bit by surprise. And so, 35 is all we can accommodate right now.
Carol, nope, it was Kim. Kim said, while I see that generic courses will come down to a $0 value, do you think that this is going to impact the entire course market, and that at least at first there will be too much saturation and will lower the price of online courses?
So I don't think so, but there's nuance to that. So information only courses, yes, it's going to go down to 0. It's going to happen pretty fast. Courses that deliver a meaningful transformation, the value is going to hold and probably increase. But the big challenge is that it's going to be harder and harder to differentiate if you're not doing it right. In other words, how will people know that your course is a legit course that delivers transformation and not one of these information-only courses? There are going to be a whole bunch of kind of cues that people are going to be looking for. And that's some of what we're going to be talking about on Friday.
Thank you, Danny. And through HCA, can you explain a little bit about the process? We have some questions. Is it go at your own pace? Are the sessions virtual?
The sessions are virtual, so it's online. You don't have to be anywhere in person. You're going to connect with your coach over Zoom. As clearly the fact that you're all here means that you're capable and equipped to do. It is go at your own pace in the sense that you can move at the speed that you want, but there is a curriculum to keep pace with in order to get the outcomes we're promising at the timeline that we're promising it.
Thank you, Danny. Is there a live aspect with group meetings and things like that?
There are group calls and group experiences, but the majority of the course is one-on-one with your coach.
Sandra asked, when you say premium price for a course, where does that start at? What classifies a premium price?
That's a great question. And it's a question that I wish I could give you a precise answer to, but it's different across industries, across categories. There are spaces where $500 to $2,000 would be premium. There are spaces where $1,000 to $5,000 or $10,000 would be premium. But the real delineating factor, the real question you want to ask is this an amount of money that would require a considered commitment on the part of my student? Right? If it's something that they could buy as like an impulse buy, it's not premium. And on the other side of that coin, is this an amount of money where every time you see your email ping with a new sale, you're excited. You're like, yes, this is great. I'm excited to get out of bed and work with these people because it's totally worth my effort. There's no, all right, one more. I don't know if it's really worth it. There's none of that resentment or uncertainty. So it's got to be a considered commitment on their part and enough that it's an attractive proposition for you. Molly, I think you're muted. Happens to the best of us.
Sorry about that. Sean says, I found that having extended conversation with ChatGPT, it learns about my needs more through this conversation. Can you talk about how to optimize this multi-step strategy for your research?
Yeah, so that's a big question. There's a lot there, but essentially the other important piece of prompt engineering is that prompts, one of the big advantages of ChatGPT is it does remember previous parts of the same conversation. It won't remember from one conversation to the next, right? But within a conversation, as you guys saw me do the other day when I was giving you the demo about the, small kitchen design course, right? I could ask a question, get an answer, and then ask a second question that is referring to the previous answer. So you're continuing that conversation. And you can ask for refinement. There are limits on how long that conversation will go. At some point, it will just crap out. And the reason for that is that those statistical predictions become harder and harder to predict. I don't know if any of you have seen some of the reporting about the experimental Bing AI tool, how it gets like really weird and, falls in love with the person it's talking to or tries to get them to divorce their spouse or like gets totally weird and creepy. That's only in cases where the conversation's gone on for like an hour and a half and the statistical prediction engine is getting a little frazzled, essentially. The way it works is that if you ask one question, the statistics are pretty straightforward. Every additional question, it gets a little fuzzier and it kind of multiplies.
Thank you, Danny. We have a couple questions. How much is this course applicable to people who sell to corporate?
It's a great question. The answer is vary. So there are marked differences between courses that are built and sold into the corporate world, both in terms of the way they're built and in terms of the way they're sold. And a lot of it comes down to a certain extent, the use case and largely the power dynamic in the sales environment. And what I mean by that is that in a business to consumer context, the seller has a lot more power, right? If you go to CVS and you see that a candy bar is on sale and the sale is ending tonight, you might buy the candy bar, you might not, but you're not going to come back the next day and say, can I still get the sale price, right? You understand it doesn't work that way. In the corporate world, because the deal values tend to be a lot higher, companies know that, there's the card is closing on Tuesday. You're going to sell it to me whenever I'm ready to buy it. And so the power dynamics are different. And because of that, the way you approach some of the marketing is different. That being said, the vast majority is the same. And we do have a good portion of people who come into our course programs who are selling courses B2B, and they do just fine.
Thank you, Danny. We have some questions about the full price. So do you want to handle that, or would you like people just to put down their deposit and have that conversation then?
I mean, it's not a secret. It's just, it's 2 months. You pay 2 months less. I think it's $595 times 12, or it's $5,995.
That's what I have written down. Another question. On Friday, will you be talking more about how to use a link to a specific URL with information you want to feed it, or will that only be discussed in the coursework?
I mean, we're going to cover it in the coursework. I'm not really going to talk about it on Friday, but I mean, on that front specifically, there isn't a lot to talk about in the simple logistics of it, right? You just say, here's a URL, like that's something, here, go to this website, read this page, now answer informed by that, right? It's not more elaborate than that. Where it becomes interesting, and you've got to be a little bit clever in the setup, is again in asking good questions. So, there's not complicated technology in terms of how you get it to take a look at something else, but it does get more elaborate when you want to engineer prompts that will get you good results.
Thank you, Danny. Deborah has a question about do the prompts that we put into ChatGPT, the questions that you ask it, and of course my chat just jumped. Do you know, like, are they storing those? Do those go into a database?
I don't know, but I'd be shocked if it wasn't.
When we use ChatGPT, our copy becomes part of the world pool, correct? And then it informs other searches. That's what Danny was talking about.
I would think. But again, I don't have insider information there. And also, for anyone who asks me about who owns what, I'm not a lawyer. I can't give you legal advice.
So what happens if somebody puts down an application and doesn't make the cut for the course? Would they be able to buy the prompts separately? Is that something they could still maybe engage in?
Now, definitely not. In the future, probably not. We have no plans to sell the prompts outside of our programs, but I mean, never say never, but there's no plan for that. There will, if you can't get in now, either because we don't accept you, although if it's a good fit, then we're not looking to trip you up, right? But if you're too late to jump in, or it doesn't work, or whatever, or you just don't have the resources or time right now, there will be opportunities in the future, but right now we're focused on this cohort. So I can't tell you when that will be.
What happens if someone needs more time, Danny? Carrie has an elderly mother, and it limits her flexibility.
Flexibility for
timing. She might not be able to finish it in 7 months. So what happens then?
Well, you're not going to lose access to the course, right? If you can still go through the course, you'll still get the coaching. We will be flexible to the extent that we can. Look, there's always the official terms and rules, and then unofficially, as long as you're reasonable, we can try to be flexible as well. But we don't promise it, we don't guarantee it, because then everyone imagines, and every made up excuse is like, just give me whatever I want. But we always do try to be flexible. It's a conversation you can have when you talk to someone on my team about what would work. But either way, you would not lose access to the content after the 7 months. And we would do our best to continue to support you. But you would, like, the guarantee may not apply if you're not doing the things you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do them.
We have some questions from HCUers. I want to encourage you guys, we can talk about this in our office hour this week, because we have a lot of people in the room who aren't HCUers. So Cassandra's trying to answer those as best she can, but we can have that conversation Thursday. Otherwise, Danny, I think we are caught up on most of the questions. It is 3:20, guys. If you have a few questions, you can still drop them. So yes, you will have lifetime access to the material. That just came up.
Awesome.
Yes, thank you. Michael, I'm going to shoot you an email, Michael. I see your questions coming to me in my DMs. I just can't do two things at once. So I'm going to shoot you an email.
Cool. Well, there is something else important that I want to say to everyone, and that is thank you. Thank you for your energy, for your presence, for your curiosity and interest in exploring this, for playing along and feeling something out that may not feel comfortable right away, because new things are never comfortable and easy, right? Where nobody's ever great at things they do for the very first time. Thank you for that. I know there's a lot of enthusiasm and excitement about the Hybrid Course Accelerator. Of course, I'm excited about that as well. I'm excited to welcome many of you into the program. And I look forward to seeing, if not all, then at least many of you on Friday, because there is still more that I'm excited to share.
Okay, everybody. I hope you found this a really valuable rebroadcast of the session that went live on Wednesday. Great to hear Danny again delivering another really important and cutting edge piece about AI. So I hope you really found playing with prompt engineering and with that guidance really valuable. You really see like the learning curve that is there and all of the opportunities that are really here for you to completely streamline your course creation process. And considering this technology is only really 3 months old, it's only been introduced to the public in November, and we're already like showing you how you can really use this technology in order to make such a big difference. So if you are interested and you're not sure if this applies for you, or you want to have a deeper conversation, you can put down your fully refundable deposit of $500, get a conversation with one of our HCA experts. If you decide it's not for you, or you just don't want to go ahead, that's perfectly fine. It's entirely refundable. So you can just book yourself in for that session. The link has been in the chat. If you'd like today's slides, again, just please answer that question that we've put in the chat and send that email to support@Meracy.com. The question is, what prompt might you give ChatGPT to help you design or develop your course? And if you send us this, we send you the slides in return. As you know, there's no replays. There's only these live encores that just happen once the day after the live webinar with Danny, and hopefully we'll see you on Friday for Danny Live at 2 p.m. Eastern.